Hey everyone! Welcome to today's video. I'll be flipping through my second bullet journal from July through December of 2018. If you haven't seen it, I do have a separate video where I flipped through January through June of 2018 in a separate bullet journal, so I'll go ahead and link that here. I suggest you check that out if you haven't already, and then come back to this video after. Before I get started, then I just wanted to preface that for the first couple of years of bullet journaling, then I did use 2 bullet journals for the entire year. So I split it in half from January through June and then one for July through December. I did used to use the A5 sized Leuchtturm 1917 journal for the first couple of years of bullet journaling. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open this thing up. See, as you can see, there is a little bit of thickness to this journal, just due to some stickers and some pasting in of pictures and scrapbook paper. Again, as I mentioned in the first video, then I got these letter and number stickers from, I believe, Michael's craft store. And as mentioned before, then I do like to name my journals and bullet journals. So for this one, then I decided to name him Romeo. And I just hand lettered his name using a Tombow door brush pen. For the first couple of years of bullet journaling, then I did try to make it a habit of writing everything down for the page numbers. But after a couple years, then I did just end up abandoning it. I just felt like I didn't reference these pages enough to warrant me always coming back to them to add them to the table of contents. And this is something that I enjoyed doing, where I would create a decorative page, just kind of introducing and leading into the bullet journal itself. I just drew a couple of dandelions and then a few birds just flying off, and then a lyric from Leonard Skinner's Freebird. For this spread, for a while in my bullet journals, then I like to hand letter the word welcome in a different shade of my Tombow Duo brush pens, and then also include a lyric on the bottom here. So this one is specifically from an Incubus song called Stellar. Then for the right hand side, then I just have the 2018 calendar, so I can see all of the months together on one page. And I just kept the decorations for this very simple and very minimalistic. Moving on to my yearly overview, then I did decide to include January through June. Although this bullet journal is covering July through December, I liked copying over the important dates and events from the first half of the year, just so that I was easily able to reference them without having to pull out my previous bullet journal. And here is the July through December overview. Again, this is just something that I would reference throughout the year, just so that I can copy over the dates onto the monthly calendars. For this spread, then on the left hand side, then I just did a 2018 mid-year check-in. So I went back and just referenced my goals from the beginning of the year, my goals or resolutions from the beginning of the year, and I just copied them down here. And then if I ended up completing them, then I would just check off the little boxes next to them. On the right hand side here, then I just wrote a little journal entry to myself what I wanted to focus on for the second half of the year. For this spread, then I just wrote down a couple of different categories of things that I wanted to check out, such as books, comedy specials, TV shows, and movies. And again, similar to the previous spread, if I did watch them, then I just went ahead and put a little check mark next to them. For the next spread, then I dedicated the entire page to music, and then I also included some places that I wanted to go to, specifically like some bars and grills or restaurants or drink places. And then I also just added this random little section here for parts of the world that I wanted to go to. I didn't do any traveling that year, so I did not check off anything, but I think it's nice to just have this list for future reference in case when I do have the time and the money to travel somewhere, then I can always just come back and reference this. Here I have an ideas and notes spread. So as you can see, I didn't really use this spread very much. I just went ahead and added it because I believe I saw spreads online where they included this in their journal, and I just wanted to give it a try and see if I found it useful. But as you can probably guess, I didn't really use it much. I didn't find much purpose in flipping back to this page and writing random things. So I think this may be the only time where I included a spread like this in any of my bullet journals. And same for this spread, the wish list and bucket list. I believe I did reference the wish list a couple of times when it would come up to my birthday or Christmas and people were wondering what I wanted as a gift. Then I believe I did flip to this a few times, but in terms of the bucket list, then I just didn't really remember to come back to this page to fill it in, and I don't really find myself referencing it often either. So again, I think I only tried it in this bullet journal and didn't add it to any of my journals later on. For this spread, then I can't recall where I got this inspiration from, but I remember seeing from someone that they created a page basically like this where they just had a clipboard that they drew on here, and then they would write out their shopping list on a sticky note and then just place it here and just continue adding to it. And then the point of writing it on a sticky note was so that when she would go shopping, then she would reference this page and take the sticky note with her, which initially I thought was such a great and very innovative idea. However, I found that I never really remembered to check this page because I always just kept a list on my phone anyway, which is more convenient for me since I know for sure that I'll be bringing my phone with me anyway. So I ended up abandoning this page as well. I didn't add it to any of my later bullet journals. And then on the right hand side here, then I just have a gift list for the people in my life that I wanted to just keep a running list of gift ideas for them. For this page, then I pretty much have it all covered up just because, as you can tell, I have a page here for emergency contacts, and then here then I just kind of have some sensitive material that I have covered up. Looking back, I'm not sure why I did either of these pages, just because they're very sensitive. If anyone were to actually look through my bullet journal, I most likely wouldn't want them to see this information, which is weird. So I never ended up doing this again. As far as like for this page, then it's basically like passwords for accounts and websites and whatnot in case something were to happen to my phone, but I never ended up making a spread like this again. The next spread, then I thought it would be interesting to just document some important or interesting facts about me, I suppose. So I just went through and wrote down some things about me, and then I just drew a little self-portrait here and wrote a little reflection journal entry down here. So the left-hand side here, then that was dedicated for vehicle maintenance, so just keeping track of the last time I got an oil change, did a car wash, alignment, etc. Just so that it was easy to reference for the next time that I would need to do it. And then the right-hand side here, then I just have a master bills list where I just indicated for the last 6 months of 2018 what days of the month that the bills will be coming out of. For this spread, then I just wrote down some bullet journal theme ideas on this side. If you recall from my previous bullet journal flip through video, then you'll know that I love using lyrics from some of my favorite songs to sort of add like a decoration and give a little bit more mood to the spreads that I create. So because I already had some certain themes in mind for the remainder of the year, then I just wanted to have a collection of songs that had lyrics that would go along with the theme. So that's where I kept track of that here. And then this page is just a decorative one. things that make me happy, so I just wrote out a few things and just made it pretty and decorated it. Alright, so now we're finally done with the yearly collection spreads, and we're actually moving on into the monthly spreads. The first month in this bullet journal is July. I painted a sunset scenery with a silhouette of a car and kind of like a beach scene. So it's supposed to be a sunset cruise theme. Heading into July, then I just used my Tombow dual brush pens and just blended in some areas to make it look like a sunset. Did some hand lettering up here. Made a large calendar for the calendar spread, and then just included a task box as well as a weight box. Again, I included a lyric up here. And back then I used to make my calendars a lot larger. If you're unfamiliar with the Leuchtturm 1917 journals, then I believe they have 249 pages, so there are a lot of pages to work with, and especially if you're using it for only half of the year, then you can add a lot of spreads to it and take up as much room as you'd like for one particular spread. So because I typically tend to be a maximalist, I like to utilize as much space in each spread as possible, then I liked to make my calendars back then very large. Starting in July, then I decided to add a couple more trackers. So in my previous bullet journal from January through June, I only had the habit tracker and the mood tracker, and then I would follow it by an expense tracker. But for this right hand side, then I decided to add a weather tracker as well as a sleep tracker. Looking back then, I think that it's very interesting that I recorded this stuff, just because I personally no longer record these things. I don't do as extensive of habit tracking or any kind of tracker now, so it just amazes me like how much time I used to have to fill all of this stuff out. But things were definitely a lot different back then. The next page then, I basically dedicated an entire spread to expenses and tracking my bills and paychecks. So on the left hand side here, then I would mark when I would get paid and just keep track of what bills were coming out that month, when they were coming out, and kind of just do the math all on this page. For the expense tracker on the right hand side, I would write the date of when something was withdrawn or put into the account, the description, if it added to the account or was taken out of the account, and then the remaining balance. So this was something that I was already doing in my previous journal, and then this was something new that I decided to start incorporating for the remainder of the year. But I have them covered up just for personal security reasons, I suppose. And moving on, this is actually my favorite thing that I've ever started incorporating into my bullet journals, are my monthly doodles. So I would set it up like it looks like a calendar, and that way it just makes a lot more sense for me to be able to see like what day of the week it was and whatnot. So for me, the purpose of bullet journaling has a lot to do with organizing and productivity, of course, but a lot of it has to do with memory keeping as well. And so I feel like incorporating the doodles pages has been so satisfying to me, to be able to look back after all these years and still recall exactly what was happening in each and every one of these little doodles. So just looking at this page, and just to name off a few things that happened this month, then I got a new job. We went to go see Incubus in concert, which was actually my first time seeing them, which was absolutely incredible. And just a lot of spending time with family and getting used to the new job. And then I just went ahead and decorated it with some more of those palm tree silhouettes, and then just some purple roses, some washi tape here to kind of create that sunset appearance. So you'll see as we go through the remainder of my bullet journals from the past several years that this is always something that I've continued to include, no matter how busy my life has become since then. So it's just something that is extremely important to me and something that brings me so much joy that I've continued to do it after all these years. Here then we have a brain dump spread for the month of July. So my brain dump pages, then they're just very random, just things that I would think about that I wanted to try and remember for a later time, shopping lists, journal entries, etc. So whatever was just on my mind basically. And then I just went ahead and added a little quote down here, did a little sunset scenery here with some tombos and Sacred Pigment microns once again. And moving right along to the first July weekly spread, then I wanted to keep it relatively minimal, just with either 1 or 2 brush pens and leave a lot of space for tracking and journaling. So I believe for at least the remainder of 2018, then I started leaving a section to track my meals. I just wanted to be more aware of what I was consuming every day, so I would start incorporating that. Again, back then my bullet journals mainly consisted of journal entries rather than writing down actual tasks that I did that day. So that's why I fill up my daily entries with a lot more journaling. Then I also just have a little section here for next week, a task section, a notes section, and then another thing that I started doing was tracking my dreams as well. So in comparison to my previous bullet journal, then I wanted to start tracking a lot more things. Here then I have a tattoo ideas spread, so I just basically drew some little mock-ups of the tattoos that I wanted to get and then just a little description next to it. Here then I just have another itinerary and packing list for the time that we went to go see Incubus out of state, so I just wanted to create a similar spread to the one that I did in June, where I just drew out these little luggage images and then just split them up into different categories and wrote down what I needed to bring. Here's the next weekly spread. Again, I focused a lot on journaling, and then I added a piece of paper down here just to track my meals. I pasted in a little image from a scrapbook paper that I had. Back then I used to collect a lot of scrapbook paper pads, usually from Michael's. I would get them when they were on sale, and so I have a lot of scrapbook paper that I wanted to try and utilize in my bullet journals. And then I did kind of a little watercolor decoration over here with a lyric from a Rob Thomas song. Here then I did a decorative spread where I believe I used some watercolors to paint this little sunset scenery, and then I also pasted in some more scrapbook paper that I thought would match the theme, and then I just wrote out some lyrics here from the song Magnolia. Here is the third weekly spread, just something a little bit different. I went with more of the vertical layout. The boxes are quite a bit smaller. I made a larger tasks box, and then I also included my meals down here. I thought that this one turned out pretty interesting. It's supposed to be like you're just standing and like looking up at the sky, seeing the palm tree silhouettes, and then just looking up at the sunset or golden hour sky basically. Here then I just painted a little painting that I pasted into the page, and then I wrote out a little lyric here from a John Mayer song. And then I had this piece of scrapbook paper that just had dreams at the top with some gold lines, so I thought it was a perfect opportunity to just add a little journal entry that went along with the sunset theme. Here is the last July weekly spread. This was always one of my favorites. I just thought that the layout was very interesting. I included the meals over here on the left hand side, just kind of scattered the daily boxes around the spread. Included this really pretty image from a piece of scrapbook paper, and then I also included a lyric down here from a Wallflowers song. And this is pretty much the end of July. So at the end of every month, then I would do a little decorative spread on the left-hand side, and then I would include the monthly favorites. So for my July favorites, then my favorite show was Eastbound and Down. Favorite memory was going to see Incubus for the first time. Favorite song was Kaleo's Save Yourself. Favorite body wash was that Olay Champagne Mango and White Ginger body wash. I still absolutely love this stuff. And favorite face product was an Aveeno Positively Radiant Intensive Night Cream. So for this page, I just took my metallic watercolors and filled in the background with some dabs and random brush strokes. For my favorites back then I would actually try and go and draw the product itself, which took a lot of time. I no longer do that, but it's really fun to be able to look back and see the actual image of these items. And here's the very end of July. At the end of every month, then I would include the monthly recap, and so I would print pictures out from my phone using my HP Sprocket photo printer, and then I would cut them out and just paste them in here, and then I would write a little description about every picture and just recalling what happened. Moving on to August, then I wanted to do an ocean theme, so I painted this very dark and mysterious seaside view, which is still one of my favorites to this day. I absolutely love the contrast and just those very deep navy blues. And here is my August monthly spread. Again, very large and spacious. And then here I have all of my trackers, a very blue theme to go with the dark ocean theme that we are going for August. And again, here are my expense trackers and bills and payments. Here are my August doodles. Again, like I said before, I'm pretty maximalist. I love being able to use up as much space as I possibly can. So I just went ahead and drew the doodles out in another calendar layout, and then I basically just filled in the background with some more of that blue paint. I included a strip of scrapbook paper. It's very beautiful. I love the holographic effect. And then just included a couple strips of washi tape. Highlights from this month: spending time with my sister who visited at the beginning of the month. Also still just getting used to my new job, still being trained and learning about it. Spending time with my husband, going swimming, spending time with my coworkers, and spending time with family. Another thing that I started adding in August, I know there was a little section in one of the July weekly spreads where I started keeping track of dreams, but starting in August, then I wanted to dedicate an entire spread to it. So here is where I started keeping track of my dreams, the ones that I could remember anyway. And then I just pasted in this piece of scrapbook paper because I thought it was very beautiful and fitting for the theme. Here then I just have a plans page where I planned out some things that we could do with my sister and her husband when they visited at the time. And here is my brain dump spread for the month of August. Again, just some random things that were on my mind, some brainstorming of things to get, habit ideas, a random recipe. One thing I used to love doing in my bullet journals were to make spreads like this where it would basically be dedicated to a song. And like I mentioned earlier, it would usually be songs that matched the theme. This one in particular is called Aqueous Transmission by Incubus. It's very beautiful, and I just wanted to create a painting that really reminded me of the song or was a scene that I can envision from the song if it were to have like a music video, if that makes sense. Here then I wrote out the lyrics for the song on the right hand side, and then here then I just have a painting. So this painting is just of a boat, as if you're in the boat and looking out at the water below you and just seeing all the different beautiful reflections and lights from the scenery around you. Moving on to the first weekly spread of August, Then again, just keeping up with the meals on the side here, a little taskbar. I just went in with my watercolors to create these little blobs behind the day of the month. I pasted in a piece of black construction paper with some lyrics on there from a Death Cab for Cutie song. And then of course another little piece of scrapbook paper. Here's another weekly spread. This one then I just kept it relatively simple with the same sized daily boxes, the meals over here on the right hand side, paint in the background, and then some lyrics up here from A Perfect Circle song. Moving on to the next weekly spread. This time I included my meals up here. I pasted in this little piece of scrapbook paper that, as you can see, it has that holographic effect to it as well, with like some mermaid scales on it, which is very beautiful. And then I just wrote some more Death Cab for Cutie lyrics right on top. Included a task and next week box down here, and then some more lyrics here, some washi tape, and then another little piece of scrapbook paper. As you can see, for these little circles behind the days of the month, then I used a combination of that dark blue that I would use over here, and then I just layered the metallic watercolors right on top. So I thought that that created a very beautiful contrast. Alright, so moving on to the next weekly spread, then I decided to try something a little bit different, and I pasted in some roughly ripped off craft paper for the background for the days of the week and days of the month. So I thought that it just gave it a little bit more interest, a little bit more texture to the page on top of the watercolors. I have my meals up here, my task box, my next week box, and then just a lyric down here from the band May. Here is the last weekly spread of August. I just went in with some little squares for the daily entries. I just drew a little picture of a girl down here. I have my meals listed up here, and then just a little lyric down here. And then coming up towards the end of the month, then I just have a little painting that I did here with a lyric from A Perfect Circle song. And then here are my monthly favorites for the month of August. So that month then I got a little MAC eyeshadow palette that I still have to this day, and I absolutely love it. Still get a lot of use out of it. Favorite drink was an Irish root beer, which I haven't had in a long time, but I thought that it was very delicious. Favorite TV show, then my husband and I were watching Dragon Ball Z. It's one of his favorite shows, and it was the first time that I had ever seen it, so I really enjoyed it at the time. Favorite memory was spending time with my sister and her husband at the time. Favorite album was Conditions of My Parole by Pussifer. And then favorite lip product was the Nivea Pure and Natural Milk and Honey Lip Balm. So down here I just have another lyric written out with a metallic blue brush pen, I believe from Kiritake. Alright, so here is my August recap. Again, just printed out some pictures off my phone from the month and then just went in and kind of wrote like a little description for each image. And then we're moving right along into September. As you can see, I went ahead and did a galaxy theme. I just painted a little galaxy scene using my watercolors. Here is the month of September. For the background, I believe I went in either with black watercolor paint or my Sakura Pigma brush pen just to cover up the background. I think at the time then there wasn't black dotted paper like on the market, so that's why I just went in and colored in the background with either black paint or my black brush pen. So I just went ahead and splattered some white acrylic paint onto the background to create like stars. I went ahead and used my green metallic Kiritake brush pen to write the lyrics from another Incubus song. And then I just pasted in this little scrapbook piece of paper with some cosmos and galaxy imagery on it. Moving on, then I have some trackers here, just my habits, mood trackers, weather, and sleep trackers. And then again, I have my September bills and paychecks and my expense trackers. all covered up. And then here are my September doodles. Again, I just went in with either black paint or my Sakura Pigment brush pen, filled in the background, splattered some more acrylic paint, and then I included a lyric from a Justin Timberlake song. I just pasted in this piece of scrapbook paper at the bottom here, and at the top as well, included this beautiful iridescent looking washi tape, and then a couple more strips of washi down here. For highlights of this month, then my husband and I, we went canoeing out on the lake, spent time with family, still getting better at my new job, and going to the Renaissance Fair. So those are some highlights from September. Here are my September dreams. Again, just the ones that I remembered. I went ahead and just added some more watercolors to try and create that galaxy appearance again with some washi tape, and then just a little piece of scrapbook paper pasted in. Here is my September brain dump page. I didn't have too much to add on this page, so I just went ahead and wrote down some random things as always. Here then I wanted to make another decorative spread for another Incubus song that I absolutely love called Stellar. So I just went ahead and painted this galaxy on watercolor paper and pasted it in. And then this one, then I painted a galaxy using metallic paints. So that was a lot of fun. Here is the first September weekly spread. I guess the main colors for this month were black and like an electric green. So I included my meals up here, pasted in this piece of scrapbook paper again with some galaxy imagery to it. I just drew this girl with like some space buns and then just added a little lyric there. Here's another September weekly spread. This one I kept it pretty simple, just included my meals here, next week, tasks bar, and then included this larger piece of scrapbook paper with the galaxy in the background, which I thought was very beautiful. Here then I made another decorative spread. I just drew a couple of astronauts, basically like holding hands or something, like they're in space. So I just went ahead and wrote out some more lyrics from songs having to do with space. I printed out this beautiful rainbow galaxy off of my HP Sprocket printer and pasted that in. Just did more of like a collage-y spread using different pieces of ripped black paper and scrapbook paper. And here is another weekly spread. I went ahead and did more of like that vertical layout. These boxes are quite small, but I wanted to go ahead and just incorporate some sort of like horoscope just due to like the constellations and whatnot. So because I was born towards the end of January, then that makes me an Aquarius. So I just painted a little painting up here that I thought resembled an Aquarius and just wrote some information down here about characteristics of an Aquarius. And then I just added a little strip of scrapbook paper down here as well, along with some washi tape. Here's another weekly spread. I included a couple of different washi tapes that I thought went very well with the theme. And then up here I used a metallic watercolor that in direct lighting then it appears like a cool teal blue shade, and then in indirect lighting then it appears to be like a rustic earthy brown shade, which is very beautiful. It's from the brand Fine Tech, if you're curious. And then we are approaching the end of September. So again, I just have another decorative page here with some different pieces of scrapbook paper, and then just another lyric. For my September monthly favorites, then my favorite song was High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. Favorite palette was the Makeup Revolution and Emily Noel The Wants palette. Favorite face product was the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Concealer. And then favorite show was the Chappelle Show. And then here is my September recap, just with a lot of images from that month, just some lovely times. And then for the month of October, I know These leaves do look pretty questionable. I was trying to draw maple leaves just off the top of my mind, like through memory. I didn't ever look them up, which I really should have because they look very questionable. So I am very sorry about that. But moving on. Here is my October monthly spread. This was always one of my favorites, and then just added a strip of washi tape up here and along the side, as well as down here. Here are my trackers again. It's just so surprising to me how many different things I used to track back then, so I can never imagine tracking all of these things again in my current day-to-day. And then here are my October bills and paychecks and expense trackers. Again, just all covered up for privacy reasons. And then here are my October doodles. I really love how this page turned out. These are some of my absolute favorite colors, with the watercolors here, the reds and oranges and yellows, just very warm and beautiful. I also included some gold foil washi tape along the side here, and this beautiful Japanese inspired kimono washi tape, and then just a piece of scrapbook paper, some more washi tape up here, and then I incorporated this piece of craft paper with some white watercolors on top. Highlights of the month, again, just spending time with family, getting more used to work, going on the dead end hayride, my husband and my anniversary, he was my boyfriend at the time, taking our dog for walks in the beautiful autumn weather, and carving pumpkins with my family. Here are my October dreams. And I believe from here on out then I condensed my brain dump spreads to only one page, and then I left the left hand side to just kind of be like a decorative slash collage page. So I just went ahead and added a couple different pieces of scrapbook paper, added in this craft paper, and just wrote some lyrics on top of it with my white gel pen, and then just added some more watercolor dabs in the background. And then just kept my brain dump a lot smaller just because I was finding that I didn't really need the entire spread just to write down like random thoughts every month. Here is the first October weekly spread. Again, I just really love the warm autumnal colors of this month. It's just very nice and cozy. And then again, I love incorporating like the craft paper with the white gel pen on top. I think it just looks very rustic and beautiful. Here is another weekly spread. This time then I just kept all of the main daily boxes towards the bottom, added a lyric up here, and then just did like a little painting, like a girl walking through the forest with some beautiful autumn leaves. Here's the next weekly spread. I guess at this point I must have just abandoned the meal tracking in my weekly spreads, so I just went back to having like the daily boxes. So I went ahead and added another piece of scrapbook paper here. This was the week of my husband and my anniversary, so my boyfriend at the time. So I went ahead and just colored in a little portrait of us using some colored pencils. And here I wanted to go ahead and make a dedication spread to our anniversary and just recap what we did that day. So just a couple pictures of us. And we went to go get some ramen that day, which I took a picture of and inserted it here. And then just a little ticket stub from the dead end hayride that we went to. Here is another weekly spread, again just with some more scrapbook paper that's just very warm and fitting with the theme. It's more of that beautiful washi tape, and then just a girl over here wearing a fall outfit. Okay, so I just realized I must not have abandoned the meal tracking. I guess I just started including it like within the daily boxes, so that makes a lot of sense now. Yeah, as you can see, I went ahead and just continued tracking them under here as well. So they're not on their own section anymore, just integrated into the daily areas. So here is the last weekly spread of October. Just a couple pieces of scrapbook paper that I pasted in, and I just drew these flowing leaves in the background like they are just scattering away. And then we're coming to the end of October, so I just pasted in this piece of scrapbook paper and filled in the background with some rusty brown watercolor. And then for my October favorites, then favorite restaurant was ramen. Favorite album was Thank You for Today by Death Cab for Cutie. Favorite TV show was The Walking Dead. Favorite lip product was Too Faced Melted Lipstick in the shade Pumpkin Spice. And favorite memory was our 2-year anniversary and my brother visiting. And then here is my October recap. As you can see, I ended up having a lot of pictures from the month, so I didn't bother writing any like descriptions or like a journal entry around the images. Instead, I just painted the background with some metallic watercolors. And then moving on to November, I decided to go with kind of like a warm fireplace theme. Fireplace/studying theme. And then moving on to the monthly spread, I just went in with some neutral browns kind of splattered in the background, incorporated a couple pieces of scrapbook paper scattered around the spread, and then just a few strips of washi tape. Here are my trackers. I just kept the spread pretty minimal. I didn't feel like it needed very much decoration. Here are my November bills and paychecks and expense trackers. And then here are my November doodles. I wanted to go ahead and just kind of add some contrast to this page, so that's why I went ahead and just painted the background of the right page completely black. And then I just wanted to highlight this little globe. If you're familiar with Coldplay's first album Parachutes, then this is basically like the album cover, which has always been one of my favorite album cover artworks. So I wanted to try and incorporate that just because for some reason I felt like it went with the theme. Some highlights from this month. Again, always just spending time with family. It's always so nice being able to see loved ones. Going to see the Book of Mormon with my husband and some of our friends. And then the next day going to see A Perfect Circle in concert. Getting some presents wrapped for the holidays. Spending time with coworkers. Thanksgiving. And spending time with my husband. Here are my November dreams. There weren't too many that I remembered, so I just went ahead and finished filling out the page with a piece of scrapbook paper, a sticker, and then just a lyric from a Fleetwood Mac song. And then here is my brain dump page. Again, just consolidating it to the right hand side and then leaving the left hand side more of like a decorative / collage page. So again, I just went in with a couple of different scrapbook paper pieces and then some craft paper with the white gel pen once again, and then just a couple of stickers. Moving on to the first week of November, I kept this one relatively simple, just adding a couple of different shades of watercolor along the sides here, adding the black and white chalkboard effect for the days of the week, and then just a lyric up here. Here is the next weekly spread. I made the daily boxes quite a bit smaller and just left a lot of room to do some more decorating and collaging. And then here I went ahead and made another decorative lyric page for a song by A Perfect Circle called 3 Libras. And I just really wanted to make it high contrast and cover the majority of the page black, and then just add a little bit of artwork over here to the side that I felt like matched the lyrics of the song. Here is another weekly spread in November. Again, I feel like I kept this one relatively minimal, just with some hand lettering for the days of the week and then just adding like a large leaf as the background. And then I added some stickers that I had. I had a lot of these stickers that I kind of just wanted to use up since it was around the holidays. So as we finish the bullet journal, you'll see that there are a lot more stickers. Here is the final week of November. I went ahead and added a few more pieces of scrapbook paper along with some beautiful metallic washi tape, and I just kept the daily boxes relatively simple. And here we are towards the end of November. So on this page, I went ahead and just pasted in this beautiful piece of scrapbook paper. And then I took a metallic gel pen and just wrote some lyrics for my November favorites. Then my favorite lip product was the NYX Soft Matte Lip Cream in Rome. My favorite eye palette was the Lorac Pro palette. Favorite song was Firefly by Jeremy Zucker. Favorite musical was The Book of Mormon. And then favorite memory was watching A Perfect Circle in concert. So again, I just went ahead and added some more of these like baking stickers just because I thought it was very fitting for the month of November, given that that is the month that Thanksgiving falls into. And then just a couple of pieces of washi tape to add a little bit more decoration and texture. And here is my November recap. So I didn't have too many pictures from the month, so I went ahead and just pasted them in and then wrote some little descriptions and journal entries surrounding the images. So here we are at the end of 2018 with the final month, December. I went ahead and just painted this very simple watercolor painting with some white birch trees and a gradient in the background, basically going from like the dark wintry night sky into the snow. Here is my December monthly spread. Again, as you can see, I had a lot of these little random stickers. These are like 3D stickers. I don't know if you can tell, but they puff up. So that's another reason why this bullet journal has a lot of bulk to it. But yeah, for the month of December, then I just kept it pretty minimal just because I knew I had a lot of these stickers that I wanted to try and use up. So I basically just went for kind of like a monochromatic theme in terms of the pens that I used. And then I just let the colors from the different stickers do a lot of the work as far as adding color. Here are my trackers. It's a little bit more difficult to see just because I used a light gray brush pen to add everything in. Here are my December bills and paychecks, as well as my December expense tracker. And then here are my December doodles. Again, just very monochromatic as far as the artwork and the watercolor paints that I used. A little bit of color with the washi tape and then more color with the stickers. So, highlights from the month, just having goofy times with my husband, getting more familiar with work, the work Christmas party, spending time with family, playing games, and the New Year's Eve get-together. Here are my December dreams. Because it was such a busy month with the holidays, then I didn't really make that much of an effort to try and remember my dreams and write them down. So you can see I pretty much just abandoned this spread. And then here is my brain dump page, again just with some more decorations and scrapbooking on the side here along with some lyrics. And then the brain dump on this side. Here is the first weekly spread. Similar to the one from November, I liked having smaller daily boxes on this side and then just leaving more area for decorations on the right side. Here I tried doing a different layout of the smaller daily boxes. So this time I kept it on the right hand side, and then on this side then I made the majority of the page revolve around a song that for some reason I felt was fitting, and just added a little artwork down here. Here then I decided to add quite a bit of color with my markers and colored pencils. When I was coloring this girl in, I was sitting in like very dim lighting, so I wasn't sure what colored pencils I was grabbing. So that's why she's very yellow. I guess she's like a character in The Simpsons. Alright, so here is the last weekly spread of December. I just went ahead and hand lettered Christmas here at the bottom because this was the week of Christmas, and just basically went all out with the stickers that I had that revolved around Christmas. Alright, so here I just have another little decorative page. I didn't put too much effort into it just because I wanted to kind of be done with this bullet journal at this point. For my December favorites, my favorite song was Scarecrow in the Garden by Chris Stapleton. Favorite memory was spending time with friends and family. Favorite movie was Why Him. Favorite items, new stationery sets. And then I got a new jacket, which was my favorite clothing item. Alright, so here's my December recap. Again, I didn't really bother writing like journal entries and stuff. And then here I have my end of the year recap, so just going back all the way to the beginning of 2018. Then I just wrote down some highlights of the year, so becoming an aunt for the first time, moving out of my parents' house, getting new jobs, and celebrating our 2-year anniversary. Here, then I just did an end of the year reflection where I just, as the title says, just went back and reflected on the year, how it went, things that went well, things that didn't go very well, and just added a couple strips of washi tape just to add a little bit of decoration. This spread, then, I found that it was very helpful when I was setting up my new bullet journal, just because I knew that there were spreads that were very successful for me and I wanted to continue adding them in future bullet journals. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there were definitely spreads that I just didn't really come back to and didn't want to migrate it or carry it into future bullet journals. So I just added those to the drop list. And then there were spreads that I found helpful, but I just wanted to modify them a little bit to have them work even better for what I needed them to do. So this is just where I took a lot of notes and just drew out like some little layout ideas and whatnot, which I found very helpful. And then the last several pages here are basically just swatches of the pens that I had at the time. So I'll just run through these quick. I believe these are the Tombow dual brush pens. So just a lot of swatching there. Here is the Tombow dual brush pen color wheel that I filled out at the time. Some more pens, my Crayola Super Tips. And then my Artline sticks. Just some more random pens, my Pentel Sign Fude Touch ones, my Zebra Mild Liners, Pilot Juice gel pens, Right Dudes gel pens. Honestly, some of these I don't even remember having them. I don't even remember what they look like. Just a lot more random pens that I really don't even remember most of them. Here are the Prismacolor color pencils that I had at the time. And then just some random fine liners and brush pens that I had. Here are some paint pens that I had, some white ones, some black ones, and some metallic ones. Here are my Sakura Koi watercolors swatched out, as well as some more fine liners. Then here I was testing out some more paint pens, and so this gold one ended up exploding everywhere. So that was nice. Good thing it's all the way in the back. Here are my Kuretake Zig Fude Biori metallic brush pens. They show up very beautifully and vibrantly on black paper, which I really like. My Tombow Twin Tone dual markers, which were some of my favorites at the time. And then here are my Fine Tech pearlescent / metallic watercolors. Very beautiful. And then just a couple more paint pens. And then I also swatched out all of my washi tapes at the time. A lot of these, then they were samples from my friend who had a lot of washi tapes as well, so I've since used all of them, and so that's why they are no longer in my collection. This one surprised me because I honestly don't even remember having this palette. Like, I don't remember what it looks like, but I guess I had it at some point, the Winsor & Newton 45 half pan watercolor palette. And then here is the Sakura Koi 40 color watercolor palette, which I believe I had for quite some time. And that's it. That is the end of my second bullet journal and the end of 2018 for me. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any future video suggestions. I love hearing from you guys and I want to make videos that you guys will enjoy. So yeah, take care and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.